Hi, and welcome to Sound Off of System One. I'm your host, Ali Mellon. I'm here today with a panel of experts, three of our System One business industry leaders, Wendy Tordilio, Clay Landrum, and James Kelly. Thank you all for being here. Very excited to have the three of you back on again. You were here first in January of this year. So back to talk about U.S. regional trends in the workforce industry. Before we get into some introductions, a few quick words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the US, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in to Sound Off today, please hop into the comments. Let us know where you're joining from, what industry you work in, and if you have any questions for our expert panel today, drop those in there as well. I have Rich from our marketing team monitoring those comments, and if we get any good questions from our viewers, we'll throw them up on the screen and toss them over to our expert panel, see if they can provide you with some insight. Please be sure to connect with all of us on LinkedIn. That information is also being dropped in the comments. So now, without further ado, I'd love to get into some brief introductions from our experts. James, we'll start with you. Could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is James Kelly. I oversee our Oklahoma office and really focus on recruitment around the Midwest. And we specialize primarily on engineering, accounting and finance, and IT.
Great. Thanks so much, James. And Clay.
Thanks, Ellie. So my name is Clay Landrum. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. My specific region is the southern region, really focusing in the Gulf. We focus on engineering and finance and accounting for the most part. Been with the company for about 12 years now.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy Tordilio. I'm the Vice President for the Commercial and Engineering team here at System One. I am based here in New Jersey, but I focus on the Northeast region. I've been in recruiting a little over 20 years, and I have been with System One for 12 years as well.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you to all of you for being here today. We have decades of experience behind all of you, so I'm sure you'll be able to provide a lot of great insight to our viewers today. So kicking us off, James, I'll throw our first question to you to start. How is the business environment in your region looking right now?
Very similar to January, there's still a lot of companies that are hiring. So we still have a lot of needs and are in need of candidates desperately for a number of different positions. IT technology side, focusing on that, a lot of data and cyber positions. Companies are really taking that seriously and putting a lot of investment into that. On the accounting and finance side, we just are always in need of good accountants. CPAs, tax, those types of roles. And then on the engineering side, structural and civil still seem to be big hits for our clients. The only difference in now versus maybe the beginning of the year are companies are taking a little bit longer to find the right person. And so the process is a little bit slower. So that's really what we're seeing, but not really a big slowdown in terms of openings at all. And I will say, just not to change the subject, but some people are having some sound difficulties. So I think that's between LinkedIn and our streaming service. So hopefully that gets fixed.
Yes, we do. We do apologize for that. We are having some technical issues. So hopefully we can resolve those up, but we are going to continue here. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll answer them live, and we'll also chat with you in the comments afterwards as well. So Clay, same question to you. How's business looking in your region?
It's good. I think the one thing that's changed a bit since January, really tying into what James said, is it has slowed down a little bit compared to January, but it hasn't stopped by any means. We're pretty diverse in our industries that we serve in the southern region. So anything from oil and gas to marine, we have a heavy civil group that's pretty busy. Just a lot of separate industries. So we're very diverse in who's hiring. Projects are still happening, capital expenditures are still up, and a lot of our clients are still looking for good talent. So I would say overall that it's really positive, and I think that our clients' business needs are going to continue to move upward. So we're excited about that.
Great. And Wendy, it appears that the sound issue is only with me. So Wendy, as you answer this question, I'm going to be toggling with my speaker a little bit. So if you see me go in and out, I will be back.
Absolutely. So, echoing what James and Clay said, here in the Northeast, it's still really busy. Definitely, our engineering has not slowed down at all. Commercial, we've seen a little each week. It kind of goes up and down. It changes, around here on the Northeast on a weekly basis on, the commercial side, especially our production and manufacturing positions. We've, definitely seen a little bit of a slowdown than where we were in January. Specifically here in New Jersey. New Jersey, we just passed the bill less than actually 1 month today. A new bill was passed for the temporary bill of worker rights that really affects manufacturing, production, and some other pharmaceutical type of positions, which has really put a little bit of a halt with our clients here in the New Jersey market because they're trying to figure out how to work through this bill, because it's not only for temporary staffing, it also holds the clients as well when hiring temporary help. So we're definitely seeing a much slower take, and that's just the first part. The second part of the bill does get implemented in August. So, we're dealing with a lot here on the New Jersey forefront regarding that. But overall, the Northeast market, is still strong, not as strong as January, but we are definitely seeing, a slowdown here in New Jersey.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Wendy. Hoping that my audio is a little better. If you can tell, my camera switched as well. So we're just going to keep rolling and cross our fingers right now. So Clay, for this second question, I am going to start with you. In conversations that you're having with your clients right now, what have you been hearing in regards to their talent needs?
Really tying into the first piece, what we talked about, they're still there, which is what we are excited about. We do see clients moving a little bit slower than they have been over the past 6 months. But with that said, they're still moving. Clients traditionally use us for contract to hire and direct hire positions, and we're seeing less from the direct come on right now. And more from a contract to hire basis, which is really why clients like to use firms like us. It's to make a variable workforce model. So when they have large projects, they can staff up, and when they need to trim down a little bit, they can move people around into different areas. So overall, we're seeing still a lot of hiring going on. There is a lot of, I think, misconception about, oh, no one's hiring right now or no one's doing anything, but it's just a little bit slower than it was in January. So we're still confident that the clients are going to continue spending money. We're seeing that in all of our regions right now. It's just shifted a little bit from the really exciting January, February, where everyone was hiring as fast as they could to get people. But overall, still really excited about it.
Awesome. And Wendy, love to hear from you about what you're hearing from your clients in regards to talent needs.
Yeah, it's I'm going to echo Clay on this one. He said it best, I think, for our region as well, is that we have definitely seen a decrease in direct hire from the beginning of the year, but it's still out there. Not saying that it's solely stopped, but it definitely has slowed down since January. And regarding contract to perm. It's still strong, but the clients definitely are taking a lot more time pulling the trigger, bringing people in, where earlier in the year they were like, get me as many people as you can. I'll take who's ever available. We'll train on site. And now we're seeing a shift from that, where they want these candidates coming in already, qualified and trained for the position, where earlier in the year they were, really looking to do a lot more on-site training. So we are seeing a little bit of a focus, on that. And we're losing some candidates due to that slower process. So, educating our clients every minute of the day to say, listen, don't lose the good talent, because the market's changing a little bit. It's not like it was 2, 3, 4 months ago.
Yeah, great. And James, would love to hear what you're kind of hearing in your region.
Yeah, third echo, I guess, because it's very similar here too. We've got 60 plus years of recruiting experience on this call. I mean, So when you have the ebbs and flows of our economy and things like that, you have a lot of direct hire business sometimes, and then a lot of contract other times. And so I think we're just kind of in one of those where it's transitioning. One things that I talk to my clients about is they don't want to bring on people and then have to turn around and have a layoff. They don't want to hurt, change those lives like that. So they're being a little bit more cautious on when they're bringing in people full time and maybe attract for a little bit. So I would say to job seekers out there, if you are in a transition, that's not necessarily a bad thing to jump in on a contract. It gives you an opportunity to evaluate the company yourself, as well as them evaluate you. And so sometimes it's just a great way to open the door. And like Wendy said, the direct hire is slowing and the process is slowing. So sometimes that contract opportunity can move a lot faster for you.
Yeah, great. And we do have a question in the comments from Karen Callahan. So any of you can please chime in on this. What are your expert opinions on the most recent trends shaping remote work, hybrid arrangements, and in-office positions?
Well, I'll jump on that real quick if you guys don't mind. So this is a hot topic. I think I hear this on a daily basis from, internal staff to external clients trying to figure out what they need to do for their staff as well. And probably every networking event and candidate you talk to, every candidate has a different experience that they're looking for. But we have been seeing a little more of a trend of people coming back into the office, setting positions. We're seeing some more push from our clients to get more people back into the office, because you have to understand these clients have realty, that has been sitting empty for a very long time. But we're also finding that challenge of filling those positions that are asking for more in-office setting positions for the candidates and talent that are looking to stay more hybrid versus remote. So that has been a hot topic. So thanks, Karen. That was a really good question.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that too. For a while it was all about the candidate. I want a remote job and all of this and that. And I think that's gone away a little bit. I think the hybrid model is probably here to stay for the most part. We're seeing a ton of companies in the Midwest that do the hybrid, whether it's a 3 in the office, 2 at home. We've got one that's they just come in once every 2 weeks. But I think the hybrid model is definitely one that's going to continue to attract talent throughout. And we're not seeing a ton of remote roles. Like Wendy said, I think people want to get back in the office and have that collaboration time.
Yeah, I couldn't have said much different other than I think the important thing, we see a lot of hybrid model here in the Houston market in particular as well, because it's so big. For anyone that's been here, it can take you an hour and a half to get to work in the morning on a good day. And so a lot of employers have found that's a real big benefit. They're getting more. They're getting more from their workforce just because everyone's not having to sit in traffic for 3 hours a day. And so that's been a huge thing in some of these larger markets. But it is really important to have that collaboration and just the culture building that you have when you're around people on a daily basis. It's hard to work remotely and really build a great culture. And so a lot of our clients want to make sure they're trying to give the best of both worlds and offer a relaxed environment in the sense of being there 2, 3, 4 days a week, but still being able to have an organization that has some core values and has that culture and has a team versus just a bunch of people spread out remotely that are doing a little portion of the job and not really getting a chance to see the whole picture.
I just heard James real quickly, briefly before they just had a team event at a baseball game. So, being back in person is that collaborative, incentive, which really builds the team into a stronger team. So, I understand, the hybrid versus remote, but I definitely see that because you need that team environment to continue to grow as a team.
Yeah, Wendy, I agree. And I think also too, for job seekers that are coming in, that FaceTime is still important within organizations. And so you can learn a lot when you're, across from somebody as opposed to just jumping on a Teams interview. So I think companies are seeing that too. And candidates too, they're being a little bit more flexible as well, which is nice.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, even myself, so I go into our Tampa office once a week. Every Wednesday, a few of my coworkers do as well. And we were just talking yesterday about how nice it is to just have that socialization when we go in. That's what's big for us. That's what drives us to keep going in, 1, maybe 2 days for some others, a week after week. So there is definitely a benefit to that.
Absolutely.
And we do have another question in the comments. This one comes from Tim. Again, any of you, please chime in. What advice do you have for job seekers who are experiencing the slow interview process from clients? And how do they make a difference with talent acquisition and hiring managers?
I can jump in on that one. It's a unique question, and it's a problem that anyone that's been in the staffing side has struggled with for probably their entire career. We can never make a client, i.e., a hiring manager or someone that's in that space, move how we want them to move typically. And the reason they're using us is because their job typically isn't just to hire people; it's to run an engineering department or a finance and accounting department or a technology department. So they're typically not just devoting 40, 50 hours a week to hiring people. The thing that we can do to help that is be consultative about what we're seeing with their competitors, with other people in the market, over our experience as recruiters, and let them know that there are expectations that need to be managed. And I think that that's something that to really help a job seeker understand is we need to, whether it's us or any other else you're working with, make sure that we're managing expectations early and trying to give a very realistic time frame of what things are going to look like. That's asking a bunch of questions to the client and then giving some pretty detailed feedback as we have it. And if we don't have it, still make communication and say, hey, I wish I could give you some more information today. We were hoping to hear back. We haven't. So I would say my advice to the job seekers is just be patient. I know it's not easy to be patient sometimes. You're really excited about an opportunity or just think it's the right one, but it takes a little time. But just take a deep breath. Things are moving on the back end, usually a lot more than a lot of people think. And stay positive. That's the big deal. Searching for a job is never fun. So getting down on yourself about the time frame is only probably going to make it worse. But that would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, those are good points, Clay. I think the other thing that I would just make sure that you guys are aware as a job seeker is, ask what the interview process looks like up front. And unfortunately, we are, like Clay said, we are dealing with it too with our clients who we've built relationships with. They're not calling us back, right? But the best thing you can do is ask, hey, what does the time frame look like? I don't want to bug you, but do you mind if I follow up? Like if you're working for, I think it's Tim who asked the question with the talent acquisition professional, hey, when can I follow up with you to find out what the next step in the process is? And I think just understanding that up front will help really, keep you kind of grounded on what the full process looks like. And you can manage that against the other jobs that you're interviewing with.
Yeah, I agree, James. You said it best, because I was just going to say, make sure you ask. Communication is key. That is a great question to ask, because you're setting the expectation up front from the client. So hopefully they'll hold through and true to their expectation of the answers that they're giving you. And, again, what Clay is mentioning, it's the consultation piece. When you're working with our clients, we're constantly consulting with them, saying we need this in a timely manner, because these people are moving through a process, and if they are right, you don't want to lose them due to a slow process. So it's important. The communication is the most important key throughout the whole interview process.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of sticking with job seekers, for each of you, Wendy, we'll start with you for this third question that I have here. In conversations that you are having with the job seekers, with candidates for your open opportunities, what have you been hearing from them about the employment environment in your region?
So it's kind of echoing everything we just talked about in these last recent questions. They are seeing a slowdown in their interview process, where earlier in the beginning of the year, I think before they even walked out of the interview, there was probably a job offer in a text or a voicemail on their phone before they even hit their car. Where now, we're going through a few rounds of interviews. It's just not one interview or two interviews. Sometimes we're hitting up 3 and 4 interviews. And we're trying to educate our clients that if you're going to do that, we need to set that expectation more in right after each other, or in a consolidated amount of time, and not one interview every few weeks, because that's really delaying the process. And the candidates right now, I would say for job seekers who are looking for it, they're not as much opportunity as there were earlier on, in the beginning of the year. So they really need to be applying for the jobs they really want, and really stick to that job, and not be fishing around as candidates were earlier in the year, because there was so much opportunity available. They really had the opportunity to, kind of like throw that fishing pole into the pond and, see which lily pad they were going to land on, where now they need to be a little more strategic in this, their interview process and what jobs they're applying for.
Yeah, awesome. We see a lot of that same stuff, and consultative, I know we've said that word a few times right now, but that's the biggest thing we're trying to do for our region is just be consultative about what the market really does look like. As Wendy said, it was January, February. I think people were just applying to roles to see what's going to happen. And a lot of times people were getting hired at a pretty strong growth in compensation because they just needed people. And what we're trying to do from a candidate pool perspective right now is just let everyone know that there is more talent out there. The candidate pool is bigger. The jobs are a little bit fewer. But as long as I think the biggest thing that we can say is understand why it is that you want to make a move. I think that's something, if we could really get someone to understand as a job seeker, is what is it that's important to you? A lot of times if you ask 100 people why they made a move, it's really not money. It could be, but it's, commute or opportunity for growth or new projects or crazy technology they're going to get to work with. So we're trying to really ask a lot of questions on the front side with our job seekers to make sure that we can show them something that's going to be exciting and not just a couple more dollars an hour, which could be important. But in doing that, we've learned that people really want to make a move for the right reason. And so as long as we can slow the process down a little bit, make sure they understand what the expectations are for time frame to hire, make sure they really think about it, and then also not stop the process thinking they're going to get 8 to 10 more offers like January and February are happening. Because the client's invested in that person's invested in the client, and we just try to get them to the finish line together.
Yeah, we're hearing all of the same things. Job seekers, the best thing you can do is think about what your skill set is and what craft you're good at, and then parallel that to other jobs and work closely with your recruiter and be honest with them on what your expectations are. And just communicate. That's the best thing that I think you could do. And that's what we're hearing from job seekers is they are, they're wanting good opportunities and they're asking questions. And so I would just say, know what you're looking for and then stick to that for sure.
Yep. Awesome. And it looks like we do have another question from the comments. This will be our final question for today. If we didn't get to your questions, we will be sure to chat with you in the comments after the live broadcast ends today. So any of you want to answer this one? This is from Derek. What have you seen from clients since January 2023 as far as being flexible with higher salaries or rates compared to 2020, 2021, 2023? Are they dropping drastically or are they just slowly leveling out?
I'll take the first stab. For the Northeast, I can say they're definitely starting to level out here in the Northeast. I think back in 2021, 2020, and 2022, we definitely saw clients really just throwing numbers out there to get the talent into their buildings, to keep their production of their whatever type of company it is moving forward. And now I think they're rolling that back a little bit and saying, let's look at the workforce that we have in place where, James and Clay talked about it a little earlier. They're really looking at their internal employee base to see, okay, where do we need more? What can we shift around? So I really do think they're leveling it out back to where it needs to be. And it's hit or miss on the industry, but I think here overall in the Northeast, I definitely see it leveling out more.
Wendy, it's the same in the Midwest. We're seeing quite a level. I mean, especially like the structural and civil side, some of those professionals are still demanding such high dollars, and companies are just saying, "Well, we can't pay it, or we're not going to pay it because it's not sustainable long term." And so, I think we just see a level out. I don't think they're going to drop drastically by any means, but the crazy, $100K. Bump in pay for somebody to change a job we don't see that anymore.
Same with us. I mean, I'd have to say the exact same things. The thing that we see is probably a little bit slower shift in this market, but for all of us that have been in this industry for a long time, 2008, 2015, 2012, we saw where salaries that were at 100 were now at 80. And so I think clients are trying to be responsible this go round. So if things do slow down, we don't have a lot of underemployment issues, meaning that someone that's got 15 years in the business making, we'll say $100,000 for easy math, then has to go take a $60,000 job because everyone was just throwing money out January, February, March, April, and getting to a point where we're just overpaying for a head count early on. and then have to start making cuts to people's employment as a whole. So I think clients are trying to temper that, bring it back down, and I think it's the responsible way to do it, just to make sure that they can sustain and not have to make any cuts.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Well, that is all the time that we have today. So thank you to those viewers that were asking some fantastic questions in the comments. Thank you to my expert panel, James, Clay, and Wendy. It was a pleasure to have you on again. Hopefully we can have you back on maybe towards the end of the year and see how things may have shifted a little bit in the next several months. So a few notes before we end today's broadcast. Starting next Friday, June 16th, we will be hosting our Sound Off with System 1 segments on Fridays for the summer. So switching our schedule up a little bit, we will only be talking about job seeker topics through the month of August. So join me next Friday, June 16th at 2 p.m., where my expert panel will be talking about interview questions and how to best answer the question, what are your future career goals? Please be sure to give us a follow on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In saying that, I do want to remind all of you about a fantastic contest that we have going on right now. If you follow us on LinkedIn, you do have the chance to be the big winner of a Yeti Tundra 45 hard cooler. This contest ends on July 31st. So remind all your friends, all your family, click that follow button on System 1 LinkedIn. So thank you all again for tuning in today. We will see you next week.
Thank you, Allie.
Thanks, Allie.
Thanks.